Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for a brand new tier list video. There's been some crazy links coming out recently suggesting that Chelsea are ready to table a bid of £120 million for Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, that guy who's like supposedly one of the first footballers ever to become a billionaire, linked with the Blues. I thought instead of making like an average video talking about why this probably isn't going to happen, I thought I'd take a look back at the Roman The mic's just fallen off. I thought I'd take a little look back at the Roman Abramovich era where Chelsea have been linked with pretty much every Brazilian that has ever played football. We've also been linked with a lot of other top quality players, some of which we've placed bids that have been rejected. Some of them we've missed out on the day to a rival club. There have been so many players that have almost joined Chelsea, and I thought today we would rank the craziest Chelsea transfer rumours of the Abramovich era. I think you guys are going to like this one. Let's see if we can hit 4,000 likes on this tier list video. And if you haven't seen my other tier list videos, I'll leave a link to the playlist in the description that you guys can go and check out. So, we've got 5 categories today. We've got 20 rumours, 20 players that didn't join Chelsea that very almost did. The first one is the game-changing category. This category, if Chelsea would have signed this player, it could have changed the whole face of Premier League football, Chelsea football, maybe even European football forever. The second one is a player that was very, very close. We've got so close, ... We've even included the ellipsis for dramatic effect. Tier number 3, we've got a huge missed opportunity. With some of these players, we look at how good they've been during their careers, but then we also look at the positions that they've played in. So even though Chelsea may have been close, it may not be as massive of a missed opportunity because Chelsea actually did sign alternative players that succeeded at the club. The fourth rank that we're going to go for is never believable. These are the kind of transfers that we're just like, this can't happen no matter what, because we just don't believe it's going to happen at all. And the final category is the red one. It's the WTF-why. As if to say, what the hell have Chelsea done to be linked with this geezer? So without any further ado, we're going to take a look in alphabetical order, starting off with Inter Milan's Adriano. Adriano was heavily linked to Chelsea between 2005 and 2008. However, the player did come out and say that he was never interested in joining Chelsea. So for that reason, we're going to start off Adriano in the never believable category. I think as a Brazilian, Adriano was known for that rocket shot of his. We didn't sign him, and because the player didn't really want the move, I'm sticking him in never believable. We then go to Sergio Agero, a man who Chelsea were heavily linked with from Atletico Madrid in 2009 and 2010. Now obviously Aguero's gone on to become one of the Premier League's greatest ever strikers. He's scored bucket tons of goals for Manchester City, and you just get the feeling that if he would have signed for Chelsea in 2009-10, he may have even scored more than he's currently scored at City due to the quality of players that would have immediately been available to him in that Chelsea team come 2009-10. However, we're not going to consider it the huge missed opportunity despite his goals, because in that time we've had Didier Drogba at the football club, we had Nicolas Anelka at the football club, and then we also had Diego Costa during Sergio Aguero's time at City. So even though he is one of the best strikers in world football, we're going to keep him in the so close category because it's not necessarily the biggest missed opportunity, because the players we did sign instead delivered the goods for Chelsea. So the next player we're going to take a look at is a goalkeeper that we were linked with in 2018. Marina Granovskaya at Chelsea has a fantastic reputation for getting deals over the line, the big deals. Now Alisson ended up going to Liverpool. What he's done at Liverpool since is cement himself as probably the #1 goalkeeper in the league. People beforehand consider it to be David De Gea. You've also got Ederson now, who's a top-class keeper, but I think the general consensus is that Alisson is now the best goalie in the Premier League. Chelsea put in a bid very similar to that of what we ended up spending on Kepa. Now Kepa's a man who's coming up for criticism at Chelsea at the moment. People aren't sure if he's good enough to be Chelsea's #1 moving forward. So Alisson, frustrating that Chelsea didn't get him. Of course, I'm not going to complain. I still back Kepa, but we're going to stick Alisson in the huge missed opportunity at this rate because the man is the best keeper in the Premier League and probably the best in the world at this point, or one of the best in the world. And then we move away from the A's and we go into the B's. 2018, January, there was There were some weird things being smoked at Chelsea Football Club in January 2018. Ashley Barnes. He doesn't have the worst goal scoring record at Burnley, but in terms of what Chelsea are trying to do, we're trying to replace Diego Costa. Why? And we move straight into another one that, again, it goes straight into the why category. Peter Crouch. Again, January 2018, it was a worrying time for the news media. It was a worrying time for Chelsea because how have, no, not really. Peter Crouch, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Peter Crouch was supposedly wanted by Chelsea as a backup striker because we didn't trust Michy Batshuayi. Story of Batshuayi's career, really, in the Chelsea shirt with all the managers he's played under. Peter Crouch is stacking up the bottom tier right now for us. I never really understood it. The next player we're going to talk about is a Brazilian right-back who's gone on to become one of the best right-backs in European football, in world football, over the past 10 years. Chelsea was so close to signing Dani Alves that the player actually himself believed that he was about to sign for Chelsea Football Club. He didn't sign for Chelsea Football Club, and he ended up going on to be a player who Chelsea fans ended up despising because of the role he played with the referee in that dreadful game between Chelsea and Barcelona in the Champions League semi-final. Ever since that game, Dani Alves has been a footballer that I've respected for his ability, but a player that I've despised because I've never been able to shake off that one game against Barcelona. I'm just going to be bluntly honest with it. I don't really like Dani Alves, but we are going to stick Dani Alves in the game-changing category because he has been one of the best right-backs in world football throughout his entire career. So if we would have signed him, it would have been a game-changing transfer for Chelsea. But that being said, credit to Branislav Ivanovic. I love the geezer. So another rumour that came around in 2018 was Chelsea's interest in Roma's Edin Dzeko. At the time, Edin Dzeko was 31 years old, and Chelsea were looking to bring in Edin Dzeko alongside Emerson Palmieri. Dzeko had a very good season at Roma. We'd seen that he had a good goal-scoring record at his time at Manchester City. However, in terms of a 31-year-old, Chelsea was supposedly looking to pay 44 million for the services of the Bosnian, and for that reason, I did wonder if Chelsea were putting their eggs in a basket that wasn't necessarily going to be good for the long-term future of the club. Edin Dzeko would have been a player who wouldn't have ticked the boxes as a future Chelsea striker for the next 10 years, and I think 44 million would have been a little bit steep. So for that reason, even though I love Edin Dzeko, I think he's a very good player, I'm going to stick him in the WTFY category, along with all the other strikers we tried to sign that January. So one question that's always been asked, particularly of England over the past 20 years, is why could Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard not necessarily play in the same team together? We talk about England's greatest ever central midfielders, Paul Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard. You throw those three out there in the last 20 years, and they'd be right up there as good as any in the history of England as a footballing nation. Steven Gerrard was very close to signing for Chelsea when Jose Mourinho wanted him at the club in 2005. It would have been a British record transfer fee at the time, and supposedly Steven Gerrard was interested in the move because he looked at what the project was at Chelsea and he wanted to buy into it. However, credit to Steven Gerrard, as much as we may just bring up the slip every single time we talk about him, he ended up staying at Liverpool, he won the Champions League and he didn't end up winning the Premier League, but it's a career that you've got to respect, and I wouldn't necessarily say that it would have changed the game too much for Chelsea because we've had an abundance of central midfielders who have delivered the goods for us over the years, but at the same time, you do wonder what could have been for England in 2006 in the World Cup there, 2010. What could it have been if Gerrard would have signed for Chelsea? They'd have learnt to play with one another to perfection between Gerrard and Lampard. What could have been for England? But for this one, we are going to keep it in the so close category because I do believe that Chelsea were very close to securing Gerrard's signature. The next transfer that we're going to talk about is one that I never really find believable because Chelsea always seem to find themselves linked with Hulk. Again, another Brazilian who's just fluttered here, there and everywhere throughout his career. I never believe this transfer because every transfer window, Chelsea are linked to Hulk. So, I mean, surely if the geezer was going to come, it'd have already been to West London. So, for that reason, I'm sticking him alongside his Brazilian counterpart Adriano I've never believed in the Hulk to Chelsea rumours, and I don't think it's ever going to happen in the future either, thank goodness. So the next player that we're going to talk about is John Stones. Chelsea were very interested in signing John Stones in 2015. At the time, we were looking at Stones as a player who simply had a lot of potential at Everton. Since then, we've seen him make a big money move to Manchester City. At the time, I thought the money that Chelsea were looking to invest in John Stones was a little bit too much. And I did wonder why on earth we'd gone ahead to do that. I do believe now that John Stones is a player with a lot of ability. I like the way that he tries to play out from the back, suits the Manchester City Guardiola style very well. But at the same time, I don't look at what John Stones has as a centre-half, and I don't think he's any better than any of the centre-halves that Chelsea have brought into the club or that Chelsea currently have at the club since we were interested in John Stones. So for that very reason, no disrespect to Mr. Stones, I'm sticking him in the bottom category. No, that's the fourth one. The bottom one, please. So one of the greatest midfielders in footballing history, one of the most gracious, humble men that you could meet. Not that I flipping met him, but the guy just seems like a good dude. Kaká, the Brazilian, linked with Chelsea in 2008 for a fee, reportedly at the time, of £80 million. When Chelsea were linked with players such as Kaká, when you look at the prices that we'd have had to pay, you think to yourself, blimey, you realise how much steel Chelsea have when it comes to going out for the big players and spending the big money. We might not necessarily be able to compete these days with a Paris Saint-Germain who can go and spend 250 million on a player, but for 80 million quid in 2008, Kaká would have been an astronomical signing for Chelsea. Again, you look at what Kaká has as a footballing brand of an entity of his own, Kaká would have been huge for Chelsea. Can you imagine that Carlo Ancelotti team in 2010 with Frank Lampard, Michael Ballack, Kaká? I'm going to stick Kaká in the huge missed opportunity category. I don't necessarily think it would have changed the game that much other than just elevating Chelsea as a brand even more. Yes, it would have. Maybe that could have been a game changer, but we're sticking him in the huge missed opportunity. The next player that we're going to talk about is one that came up in 2015 when Lionel Messi decided to follow Chelsea Football Club, Felipe Luis, Thibaut Courtois and Cesc Fabregas all on the same day after having a fallout with Barcelona and unfollowing Barcelona on Instagram. This is one of those rumours that it is a little bit crazy, but when you look at that and you look at the effect now and the impact that social media has on footballers these days, back in 2015, if this would have happened from Lionel Messi tomorrow, we'd all be making flipping videos saying that Messi's signing for Chelsea, and you would believe it. Lionel Messi is arguably the greatest footballer who has ever lived on planet Earth. I know that that is going to spark debate in the comments down below, and it is one of the biggest questions that's ever been asked in football. Who's better, Messi or Ronaldo, Messi or Pelé, Messi or Maradona? Lionel Messi, if he'd have signed for Chelsea in 2015, it would have changed the face of European football and the way that football is viewed across the entire world forever. Lionel Messi is a Barcelona legend, and it's going to take something astronomical for him ever to leave the club, be it that transfer bid or wages or release clauses, whatever it may be. Even though it wasn't necessarily close, it would have been a game-changing signing for Chelsea. Messi in a Chelsea shirt, it just would have been phenomenal. So the next player we're going to talk about is a midfielder that we almost managed to snatch from Tottenham Hotspur. Luka Modric in 2011 was 25 years old, and Chelsea were very, very close to securing his signature. Chelsea were putting in bids around 20 to 40 million quid, and Luka Modric supposedly wanted the move, as he saw the move to Chelsea as being one that would enable him to win trophies. Of course, a year later, we went on to win the Champions League, and since then, Luka Modric moved from Spurs to Real Madrid and has also won his fair share of Champions Leagues. However, when I look at what Luka Modric has done with his career, for the price that Chelsea were looking to pay for him at the time, it could have been a huge signing which could have dramatically changed the game for Chelsea. That being said, you look at what Chelsea have done in the past 9 years since we didn't sign Luka Modric, and we've won plenty of trophies. So for that reason, I'm not going to stick him in the game-changing category too much, but I definitely feel as though the transfer was a lot closer than many people would like to believe, particularly Spurs fans. That would have been nice, wouldn't it? So the next player we're going to talk about is Mr. Real Madrid, Sergio Ramos. Jose Mourinho supposedly wanted to bring Sergio Ramos to Chelsea when he rejoined the club in 2014. When I look at what Ramos has done at his career at Real Madrid, going from being Real Madrid's captain, even though Chelsea under Mourinho again the second time round was an attractive prospect for any player to consider, I don't really think this one was ever believable. It would have been phenomenal because Sergio Ramos in the past 6 years has been arguably one of the most influential centre-backs in the world. So it would have been a good transfer to see. I never really believed it. Franck Ribery in 2010 was on the Chelsea radar in a supposed deal which would have seen Carlo Ancelotti offload Jose Bosingwa to bring in Franck Ribery for a fee that was reported of around 65 million quid. Franck Ribery's gone on to have a very, very strong career at Bayern Munich, and he ended up leaving the club last year as a club legend. I think there was definitely interest from Chelsea, but I didn't really believe in those Ribery rumours. At the time, I didn't think we would consider spending 65 million quid on a player and also giving away Jose Bosingwa at the time. I quite like Mr. Bosingwa, putting that one in the never believable category. You've then got Roberto Carlos, who was heavily linked with a move to Chelsea on a free in 2007, which, when you look back at it now, Roberto Carlos being at the club at the same time as Ashley Cole wouldn't really have made that much sense. We signed Ashley Cole in 2006. Best left back in the Premier League becomes a Chelsea left back. You look at Roberto Carlos, and yes, it would have been a very good financial coup for Chelsea. We'd have made a lot of money selling Roberto Carlos shirts, and it would have been interesting to see however any manager would have fit both Roberto Carlos and Ashley Cole in the same side. It wouldn't have happened. It would have had to have been Roberto Carlos as a backup left back, and it's just a nice little signing that Chelsea could have had. But the fact that it could have been for free, instead he went to Fenerbahce, I'm gonna say that it is a huge missed opportunity just for the revenue that Roberto Carlos could have brought in. And, you know, he's one of the biggest left back names in the history of football. It would have been an exciting one to see at the club. Huge missed opportunity. We then move into a player that was so close to joining Chelsea, we missed out on signing him on the final day of the transfer window. In 2008, in August, it looked as though Chelsea were about to sign Brazilian Robinho for £32 million until the financial muscle of Manchester City swooped in and took Robinho right from our clutches. Robinho, because of how close it really was, we're having to stick him in the so close category. When we look at what Robinho did at Manchester City, I don't think it was as electrifying as people would have expected, but that being said, it was so close to being a Chelsea signing that he has to go in that category. We move into Ronaldinho. Chelsea were heavily linked with Ronaldinho between 2006 and 2008, and when Luis Felipe Scolari took over as manager of Chelsea, the Ronaldinho to Chelsea rumours was stronger than they'd ever been before. Ronaldinho was a phenomenal player, and I think by the time that Chelsea were linked to him, we wouldn't have had 10 years of his services, but the way that Ronaldinho was as a player, we saw what he did against Chelsea in the Champions Leagues in that wonderful game where we did manage to score 4 goals against Ronaldinho's 2, but Ronaldinho at the time was the kind of calibre now in world football that Lionel Messi is. So for that very reason, Ronaldinho would have been a game-changing signing for Chelsea. The name itself would have probably brought in 100 million for the Blues. It didn't happen, but it would have been nice if it did, right? And this is the one that actually sparked me to make this video in the first place. Chelsea interested in €120 million bid for Cristiano Ronaldo. The man is 35 years of age. Now, I think that age doesn't really matter with Ronaldo because he's a superhuman anyway. He's probably going to go on playing at the top level until he's at least 40 years old. The man said he wants to do it himself. 120 million from Juventus for Cristiano Ronaldo. This has been reported by Don Ballon. It's just, they're a mess. They're just not the most reputable source. Let's just say that to be polite. Cristiano Ronaldo to Chelsea, even though the man is a brand within himself that would make Chelsea so much money, I just don't believe that this is ever going to happen. There are so many things that would need to happen for Ronaldo to leave Juventus and join Chelsea. I can't see it. I've always said if Ronaldo was going to move anywhere in the Premier League again, he'd go back to Manchester United. I don't see this one happening. I'm not going to say WTFY, because of course, if there is any legitimacy to this whatsoever, I would love to see it happen. I just don't flipping believe it. And the final player we're going to take a look at is Manchester United's Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney burst onto the scene with that incredible goal for Everton against Arsenal and then became one of Manchester United's most prolific ever goal scorers. Chelsea and Jose Mourinho were very interested in bringing Wayne Rooney to the club in 2013, and supposedly Chelsea made multiple bids that were rejected by Manchester United, and Wayne Rooney was considering the move as the player. In terms of where we're going to put this one, Wayne Rooney did still go on to score plenty of goals in a Manchester United shirt after the move to Chelsea foiled. So for that reason, we finish off this tier list by sticking Rooney in the huge missed opportunity. I don't think that Wayne Rooney gets the respect that he necessarily deserves for what he's done for Manchester United in the Premier League. So yeah, if we take a look at this tier list right now, there are some absolutely incredible players that Chelsea have been rumoured to have been close to signing over the years. Some of them much closer than anything else. And at the end of the day, none of these players ended up signing for Chelsea. They're all just rumours, they're all just stories. But at the same time, we look at this and we talk about missed opportunities, but really, we're still so lucky that even though we might have missed out on these, we have bought some incredible players over the years that have given Chelsea the capabilities to go on and win trophies and that have given us, as Chelsea fans, moments of ecstasy that we will never quite forget. So yeah, that wraps up this Chelsea tier list video talking about rumoured transfers of the Abramovich era. Let me know the biggest ones that you think were game changers in the comments down below. Which ones would you have liked to have seen the most? Which ones do you not find even close to believable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Subscribe to GBFC if you haven't already done so. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.